Are you thinking of leaving corporate, but too afraid to make the move? Have you already escaped corporate, but are finding it hard to run your dream business? Are you wasting valuable time by attempting to figure challenges out on your own? We have created a podcast for corporate escapees running their own business. This is the Corporate Escapees Podcast by Build, Live, Give. We bring you firsthand experiences of guests going through many of the struggles you face each and every day as a corporate escapee. We get real with no corporate BS. And now, over to your host, Paul Higgins.
Welcome to Corporate Escapees Experts. This is a community for corporate escapees running their dream business. And what we do is, as a community, we look at some of the key challenges on helping people build that dream business. And what we do is get global experts in to help solve some of those challenges. And we've got what we call the 5 rapid growth drivers. So that's our key drivers, our key roadmap for success. And you can get that at buildlivegive.com/roadmap. That and other links will be in the show notes. And today we're going to focus on rapid growth driver number 4, which is sales focus. And I'm very excited to have with us today Nathan Wade from Marketing Juice. And he's going to take us through some of the key challenges, solutions, and also a great case study on how we work with SEO. And as Nathan and I were talking prior to going live, just the complexity, and if you had 10 people in a room and asked them what they thought SEO was, I'm sure you'd get 10 different responses. So Nathan's here today to help demystify that and to give us some expert tips. So Nathan, welcome to the show.
Hi, Paul. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great having you here. So why don't we just start with a bit of a backstory from you? Why did you get into the world of digital and the world of SEO?
Yeah, sure. Well, look, I originally got into the world of SEO after I did it quite begrudgingly. I've got a very direct response marketing background, and I'd been building and selling businesses about 10, 15 years ago, and I got to a stage with the business that I was involved in where I just couldn't grow it any. We hit a bit of a brick wall. We just couldn't seem to grow it anymore, and so I ended up buying a $99 ebook late one Friday night about SEO, and just fell in love with it from there, and then rapidly grew that business just by the power of the internet, as they say, as cheesy as that sounds.
Great. And what sort of business was that?
It was actually a training company. They do like industrial equipment training and things like that. So it was a very traditional sort of service provider type business, not something that you'd normally associate as being a business that would flourish because of the internet. And then I just went on to use my skills in search engine optimization and digital marketing to build and grow various other businesses. And then more recently ended up as about 4 years ago, I got headhunted to run the marketing of a local tech startup, which I then ended up in the CEO role of. And we listed it on the ASX about 3 years ago. So it was part of my own sort of corporate escapee story, where I ended up with the corner office in the city, as they say, with a picture of a horse jumping a fence on the wall, and all I could think about was working from my little home office again, running doing SEO.
Brilliant. And I know we're going to have you on our other podcast, which is Corporate Escapee Stories, to hear more about that. But we'll just go into a little bit more around SEO. So search engine optimization, like I said, 10 people in a room, all different versions of what it is. How do you describe it? When someone says, yeah, okay, so Nathan, you work on SEO, how do you describe what it actually means?
Yeah, sure. So look, how we describe it is, it's the process of really making the best use of your industry search traffic. So many people think you've got to try and outsmart Google, which I promise you, if you're trying to outsmart Google, then you're going to be up for a really long, if not impossible fight, where really all you need to do is to be smarter than your competitors, which is a much easier fight, I'm going to tell you.
Yeah, look, go buy shares in Google. I think that's probably a better use of your time. And like you said, just focus on your competitors. And why is it so important? Why is it important to be better than your competitors with SEO?
Well, look, it depends on the market that you're in. Like one of the things that I'll go through in more detail in a second, is ensuring that SEO is it actually a good fit for your business. But assuming that it is a good fit for your business, then being able to outsmart your competitors is such an important part of it, because you could actually rank your website, on the first page of Google for all of your industry's most lucrative search terms or search phrases, simply by reverse engineering what your competitors are doing.
And has there been much change? I know obviously huge growth in mobile searching, but has there been much change, particularly in Australia, on how people search over the last couple of years?
Oh, look, without a doubt, it's something that's evolving all the time. And so for many small businesses, it can be quite hard to keep up with. And the other thing that makes it really hard for small businesses is just the mass of content and information that's out there. There's so many people, especially in the US, have made very, very lucrative businesses out of just producing this massive content about SEO. So it's like information overload for most business owners.
Yeah, look, I definitely I feel that, and a lot of our members are listening to this sort of feel it as well. So when you look at some of the key challenges that people come to you with when they think they need SEO, and I think you're going to go into that they may not always need SEO as a solution, but they think they do. What are some of the key challenges they face?
Yeah, sure. So look, a very common question that people come to us with is they'll come to us and say, "Oh, I think I need to be on Instagram, or I need to be doing SEO, or I need to be doing this with my website." What we always like to do with them is to get them to go back to the beginning and really dissect who their customer is. It's amazing how many companies come to us that are desperate to do, to get more traffic or to drive more sales, and yet they haven't really niched down into a particular market. Like, they'll be so busy trying to be broad and general and to service everybody, that they fail to really get down and view a customer, to learn as much as they can about an individual customer. So it's only by really niching down into a particular market that we can actually, we can quite easily design a marketing strategy that's going to suit. And if that marketing strategy is SEO, well, the opportunities then become much easier to actually see.
Yeah, and look, I agree. I think that famous saying, "The riches are in the niches," and I think it's so true. We in our 5 rapid growth drivers that I spoke of before, number 2 is ideal client, and I think it's so important to do that. And I often think of it, if you had to get a room full of 1,000 people and you had to send direct invites out to them, who would you invite? Because most people, when they say, "Look, my ideal client," or "Who's your ideal client?" they'll answer it. I'm like, that's about 500 million people.
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
how do you sort of really narrow that down? So how do you go through the methodology of helping people actually find those niches and narrowing down?
Yeah, look, it can be a little bit tricky depending on the customer, but usually we start by just looking at what their actual service is, and then work backwards from there. So we look at, if they're a business that's been going for a while, we can look at any of their current sales data and go, okay, great. Which can we somehow look into the data and say, where have your most profitable sales come from? From there we can go, great. What are the key attributes that the customers inside of that segment actually had? Were they in a particular location? Do they have, did they come in driving a particular type of car? Do they, what else? What other data can we get? Can we understand about them?
And do you often find that people have got the data, but they just don't have the expertise to mine it?
Look, depends on the size of the company. With small businesses, it's usually the problem is they don't have the data. For larger companies, it can be much easier.
Right. So first one is, really decide what's the best channel. People, having problems or challenges with that. Then also defining their ideal client. What are some of the other challenges that you see people encountering?
Sure. Well, look, around digital marketing, I mean, it's around them trying to focus their efforts too thinly. Like, they'll be so, for small businesses in particular, they'll be trying so hard to go, okay, we need to have some budget for Facebook. We need to have some budget for AdWords. We should be doing SEO. versus really for them to be able to properly understand the customer and then use that information to be able to work out exactly which channel they should focus on. And then once they've worked out exactly what's working, just really, narrowing down their focus to that.
And how do you,
Sorry, go for it.
no, sorry, I was just going to say, how do you just decide that? Because I know that often a lot of our members will say, look, I just don't know what's the best platform, or I don't know, I go and talk to my clients. It's still not really clear on exactly what the best platforms to target them on. Because I counted up the other day, I think some of, these days there's about 12 platforms you could be on, from email, SMS, right through to Slack or whatever it may be. So how do you advise people to go and work out which is the best social channel for them?
Yeah, sure. Well, look, so we go through a process. It's actually something that I got off through, there's a real cheesy American mentor of mine that who I absolutely love, by the name of Russell Brunson. And Russell has a book called what's the name of his book? Russell's got a company called ClickFunnels. And his book is, the name's going to jump out at me as soon as we finish this call. But
that's right. I've read it, and I can't remember the name either. But what we'll do is put that link definitely in the show notes.
I could see the Expert Secrets is the follow up to it. But he goes through a great process of just reverse engineering who the customer is. And so we find when we go through this with customers, you get to the end of it, and the actual channel it becomes clear to them. Mm-hmm. So we basically start by going, okay, great, who's your ideal customer? And the more we can niche into that, the better. Because if the product they're selling is, let's say it's, I don't know, washing machine repair, and they work out, all right, great, inside of that, who's your ideal customer? Their ideal customer is someone that lives in the inner suburbs of Sydney, because they're more likely they're likely to be more affluent. From there we go, great, all right, well, based on that information, are they more likely to be male or female? And usually they'll say, I don't know, for that product line, I'm going to make a bold assumption and say that it's more likely to be the females that are making the decision. And there we go, okay, great. Well, based on the fact that they live where they do, what are some of the interests that someone in that demographic is likely to have? Based on that, we can go, okay, great. What are some of the publications they're likely to read? Where are they likely to hang out? Who are they likely to hang out with? And so once you're actually creating this picture with a client, it usually becomes more obvious to them exactly where you could actually advertise, and even as far as what sort of messaging you could start to use with them.
Great. And any other challenges that you find people come to you with?
So one of the other challenges that small businesses come to us with is the challenge of whether they should actually do SEO on their site themselves, or whether it's something they should actually outsource to an agency. So it's small businesses are usually in quite an interesting position, because if they've got to weigh up whether they should, whether they could, devote a person's time and resources internally to actually learn about SEO, or whether they're going to bite the bullet and outsource it to, and actually take on the services of an agency to perform it for them.
Yeah, and what's your experience? Because I know this is a really hard one, where people have got, they've listened to podcasts, they might listen to experts like you and think, okay, well, I haven't got a lot of money, I'll go and try to implement this myself. What's the success rate of doing SEO by yourself versus some other things, whether it's Facebook ads or other marketing tactics?
Look, the success rate it can be a little bit hit and miss. So what we usually find is that I do have a couple of really good examples of people that do the SEO themselves and do it reasonably well. It's never going to be done as well as it could be done via a good reputable SEO agency. But for a small business that just doesn't have the funds, it is a viable option. I mean, as much as there's information overload out there, the fact is that there is some really good, some high quality SEO advice on things like YouTube and things like that. So if a small business owner was really willing to take the time to research, do their homework, then there's nothing to say that they can't get quite good results. But they're never going to be able to achieve what's possible if they take on the services of a really good agency.
And what's the difference between, I've heard some people say on page, off page SEO or technical, non-technical. What's the difference between those, or how do you describe it?
Yeah, sure. So look, on-page SEO is basically involves all the things that you can change on your actual website. So this would be everything from the text to, new pages that you can create, in it links, the links that between each page of the website, the page titles and things like that. Versus off-page is everything that's done externally. So in other words, whenever you hear about the terms like backlinks or backlinking, that's what we class as off page. So basically, the links from other external websites pointing into yours. Or if you want to set up, your business's your business's details to the various business directories and things like this, then that's all into the category of offsite or off page. And then technical technical SEO more refers to sort of like the advanced topics when we talk about on page SEO.
Great. And I know with backlinks, I know for me, I get a lot of people saying, read this great post. Would you like to add this content to it, etc.? So I get a lot of people reaching out.
Yeah, sure.
To put links on your website. What's your advice on how do you pick which ones are right? Should you do it? What's some thoughts around that?
Yeah, got it. Look, my thought on that is, look, it is a tough area. Like it's, if we have our own internal policies and guidelines that we have for working out whether a website is of high quality, what I'd suggest is just to use a bit of common sense. If you've had a look at the website and it looks to be reasonably legitimate, it's on topic is definitely going to help you. If it's niche specific, that's going to be a good thing. Look, some of the other at the risk of going more, of getting into more of an advanced area, some of the things we look at is the authority and the trust of the website, which there's various tools you could use to actually determine this. I believe at the end of this chat, Paul, you're going to give a link to everyone to our video series where we can actually go through and give exact examples of some of the links to the actual tools that people can use to work out trust, authority, and so forth.
Yeah, we'll definitely have that, and that'd be great because I think it's just, I think common sense is really good advice, but sometimes it's like, well, how do I test this? And I know there's things like what's the one where you can see sources of website traffic?
Yeah, there's lots of them. You could use SEMrush, SEMrush. There's SimilarWeb. There's a number of different programs you can use. Ahrefs.
Yeah, so those type of things will be in the videos.
Yeah, exactly. We talk about all of those, and there's links in the videos to them.
Great.
But, some other key sticking points. I mean, it is a tough time for those that are trying to learn about SEO because Google's very much a relevance-based search engine, but how they determine that relevance has changed dramatically over the past few years. It used to be all about keywords. 5 years ago, if we wanted to rank a website, it'd be easy. We just stuff a million keywords everywhere. If we wanted to rank for the term, I don't know, forklift license Sydney, well, suddenly you'd see forklift license Sydney 1,000 times. Versus, they've got where they're trying to get us to in the next 2 to 3 years, which is about user engagement. But it's a really strange time because we're very much, not where we used to be keyword wise, but we're also, not where they're trying to take us from a user metric standpoint. So, SEO at the moment really is this strange mix of getting the content so it's got just the right amount of keywords without being over optimized, and yet it still performs really well from a user engagement standpoint.
Yeah, and I think your point earlier about not trying to outsmart Google, I think the best thing is to if you're generally creating great content that is helpful and you continue to produce it consistently, I'm sure that's got to help with your SEO. Is that a fair assumption?
Look, it's definitely going to help without a doubt. I mean, there's so much misdirection around at the moment. We're very much not where Google is telling us we are right now. Like a lot of the experts in America would have you believe that it's all about user engagement now, which it really isn't. But to touch on what you just spoke about, the point you just said then, Paul, man, if you were to write, probably the best advice we could give people is the more you can write your content for the user, and then just make sure that you're using a sprinkling of keywords to have it to be nice and descriptive, then that's probably going to be have you be in the best stead.
Brilliant. And now, some of the solutions, I think you've already had some great recommendations, but around those key challenges, what are some of the key solutions you recommend?
Look, the key solutions is going to be doing getting just enough, either aligning yourself with an SEO mentor that is a good fit for your business, that's going to be able to give you just the right amount of information and leadership so that you're getting value, or to set yourself up with an agency that has enough skin in the game and is a good fit for you. Or you're going to have to do the hard yards on YouTube and actually find the information that's going to allow you to rank the website on your own.
Yeah, and look, one of the key benefits of being a BLG Boost member, which is our entry membership for Build, Live, Give, is having vetted suppliers. So, we scan the world and get experts like you so that people, when they come, they can trust. Because I think one of the hardest things I've found in scaling a business is you pick the wrong supplier, you can lose a lot of money, but you also lose a lot of time. And time's your most valuable asset. So what are some tips around making sure that you're picking the right mentor or right agency?
Yeah, for sure. Look, looking for someone that's really can show you that they've got skin in the game. Like the whole performance, especially in the US, that the performance-based SEO models always had a very bad rep, and there's also a lot of sharks in Australia here that are still trying to offer things like page one guaranteed or it's free and things like that. And what it actually is a real empty promise, because they'll pick some completely ridiculously low competition keyword like your business name, and they'll rank you on page one for your business name, before they start charging, and then beyond then you get no results and so forth. So the biggest thing is just to really make sure that that what they're offering you ensures that they have real skin in the game. So if they don't get results, if they're not producing results, then you've got quite a good exit strategy.
Yeah, and what are some of the hardest questions you've had to answer when someone's picked you for an agency?
Oh, look, the hardest things when someone when someone says, "Look, how quickly can you get results?" Because at the end of the day, the old adage that SEO has to be slow is completely crap. It's just not true. But there's a direct correlation between how much you spend and how quickly you can get results, because the volume and the quality of the resources that the agency has available to use is determined by how much money you're able to spend with them. We do quite creative deals, and for us, we're not really an everyman's agency. We're quite selective on who we team up with. But we have quite creative packages. We do some revenue share and performance-based arrangements with certain companies that we think they're well positioned to scale. We also offer things like a 3-month trial, which is 3 months is a really short time in SEO, but it's a good way if you sit down with a customer and you work out a clearly defined benchmark that they want to be at inside of 3 months. It's a long enough time period that they can see what you're going to be like to work with, and it's a short enough time period that even if you aren't producing results, they haven't lost a whole heap.
Great. And when you talk about results, what are the key things to measure? So if I had to go on a 3-month trial with you as an example, what are the key metrics that we're looking to measure to see whether it's a success or not?
Yeah, sure. Well, look, here's the thing. It really depends on the actual business. Like, we get businesses that come to us and say the key metric is traffic, because they already know their numbers. Like, it'll be business that, it might be a business that's already doing Google AdWords, so they know which keywords perform the best, and they just need more traffic for those keywords. So it could be they could come to us and say, I need to double my traffic inside of 3 months for these terms. Other businesses will come to us and say it's all about sales. I need you to move the dial that from an online sales perspective by 10%. We have another company that's all about just market share because they're a public listed entity. So it's just we need to be able to show that we own page one for this particular term, this particular topic. So the short answer is it really depends on the business and their individual priorities.
Right. Okay. And how should people show those results? Like, what's the way that you actually show the results to clients? Is it weekly? Is it daily? Like, how do you actually know and track the success?
Yeah, sure. Look, once again, it's unique to the customer, because certain customers will want different levels of reporting. But it's usually done by either a weekly automated report showing rankings and traffic, and that'll be a monthly catch up and a proper wrap up of all the inner workings of the campaign.
Great. So we've talked about how to pick a SEO mentor, how to pick an agency, and also how you measure results. What happens if you go alone? What are a couple of key things you should be cognizant of when you're going it alone?
Yeah, sure. So you mean to actually go alone to be doing all of the SEO work yourself?
Yeah. So if they're at a point where they either have in-house capability or don't have budget, decide to do it themselves, and like you said, look up YouTube, or I know you're going to have some great videos they can watch. What are some of the key tips that you would
Sure.
give someone if they were going down that path?
The key tips I'd go to give them would be to start by reverse engineering your competition. So there's some great if you were to use SEMrush, or if you were to use Ahrefs, and I'm sure, Paul, we can put some links to both of these underneath here for everybody.
Yeah, definitely.
If they were to go, if you use it, you could sign up for a 7-day free trial for both of those programs, and you could quite easily reverse engineer your competition. So if you were to look up who pick 2 or 3 of your most your highest ranking competitors, you could do an audit of both of their with all of their websites using those 2 programs, and you could get quite a good snapshot of exactly which keywords are driving their main traffic. And more importantly, you could then look at exactly which site backlink or link to your competitor. So from there, you could build a complete snapshot of here are all the websites here are all the links that I essentially would like to gain. And you could look at from an on-page perspective. You could look at, okay, great, what's the depth of their content? How many do they have 1,000 various individual pages and blog posts about your subject matter, or have they only got 2? If they've only got 2, that's great. It's quite easily it's quite easy to improve on that. Just create 3. If they've got 1,000, then you've got quite a bit of catching up to do. You could analyze their current on-page factors to work out how many times their keywords have been used in the content, all that sort of stuff.
Great. And I know this may sound like a little naive question, but sometimes people really struggle to find out who their competitors are. So if you've got any tips on finding out who is best in your category, because for some people there's lots of players.
Yeah, there's a couple of ways you can do it. Firstly, if you were to look at, if they were, assuming they were going to sign up for a 7-day trial with SEMrush, if you were to put your own website into SEMrush, and it's really hard to miss, as soon as you log in, it's the very first option it gives you is a search bar. There's actually a competitor report where, based on your market and your current website, it'll actually tell you who Google says are your biggest competitors. Failing that, what I'd recommend that you do is you'd start with just thinking of some of what are say 5 to 10 of the most common search phrases that people are likely to use when they're looking for your product or service. Perform a Google search and just look at the results. Who are make a list of the top the top 3 or the top 5 high ranking sites.
Great. And is it still down the bottom of Google when you sort of put in your search up the top? I know obviously it gives you other options. Is that a good way to look at some of the most common search terms?
Yeah, look, you can do that if it'll give you other related searches. You can do it that way. Yeah, that's not a bad way to look at other semantically related terms. Usually they'll give you quite longer tail, so quite long variations of the top level terms.
Right. Okay, great. Well, look, so some great advice there to handle some of the key challenges. What about a case study? I'd love to get you to just go through an example of someone that's worked with you, and what was their situation prior, what did you do, and then what are some of the results?
Yeah, sure. Look, we've got loads of case studies, but I'll try and give you some that are more service provider based. Like we did quite a to go back to the point I said before about one of the common beliefs about SEO is that it needs to be slow, and it very much, when it's done correctly, it doesn't need to be. So, like for one of our clients, we did a quite an interesting case study where it was done over just 10 weeks. So these guys, the business is actually called Linkfluencer, where they're Australia's foremost LinkedIn training company, as recognised by Forbes. And so these guys basically wanted to rank on page one of Google for the term LinkedIn. We only had about eight to 10 weeks to do it. So we took them they were essentially outside of the first 100 positions for the term into position 8. We ended up hitting it in about it was exactly in 8.5 weeks when they actually hit the position. And this is for a term that has 823,000 monthly searches. They also got onto page one for the 5 other highest traffic variations of the term LinkedIn. So it basically took their monthly search traffic from about 3,000 a month to almost 20,000 a month.
So that's a great result. How? What's some of the secret sauce that helped you get there?
To be honest, that the best thing, you guys, if anyone that wanted to learn exactly how we did it, the best thing they could do is to watch our 5-part video series. It's 5 short videos of, the longest one is 17 minutes. The others are around about 15 minutes. And it really takes you through, the ins and outs of how we do it. We have our own, what we call our elegant SEO model. Because there's so much misdirection out there around SEO. There's so much theory that gets thrown around. Our secret to success is we test. My guys are just absolutely relentlessly testing every strategy and every theory that comes through. And we only use on our clients, the strategies that are actually proven to work. So it was just a matter of having great on-page factors and the right link building.
Great. And what's happened since that? So you got that brilliant result. Are they an ongoing client, or is it sort of once off, set and forget?
This one was only ever done as a 10-week program. And the site still, mind you, I haven't checked it in about a month. This was from like mid last year. This is from July last year, this test was. At last test, they were still sitting bottom of page 1.
Great. And just out of interest, what was sort of the key search term? Like if you had to type in something for Google now to find it, what would you type?
LinkedIn.
Right. Okay. Just simple that. Not LinkedIn training, just LinkedIn. Bang.
That was the target term. LinkedIn training was the only term that the site previously ranked for by memory.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant.
So that's just an example of that's just to prove that the case that SEO doesn't need to be slow. But we threw a reasonable amount of resources to achieve it. Some of our other clients, we've got examples where we've taken sites over a 6 to 12 month period from essentially 0 traffic per month, like a fresh domain and a clean start, to over 100,000 searches per month, 100,000 unique visitors per month.
Right. That's great. And any particular industries or verticals where you think, SEO is a must versus a nice to have, given all the clients that you've worked with?
Look, yeah, anything, like pretty much anything where any area where Google AdWords is working well, you can almost guarantee that SEO is going to work as well, if not better. So a great strategy we recommend with a lot of new businesses is once they've clearly defined who their ideal customer is and everything we know about them, we use Google AdWords as a way of rapid fire testing, our ability to drive sales via search. And then we use that data to actually launch into an SEO campaign.
Right.
Who SEO? I mean, some red flags for us of when leads come through we have a digital marketing audit that we offer, and some red flags for us are things like if a client comes through and they have a really bad ability to convert any of the traffic that comes across the site, or they have a sales process that doesn't convert well, that's usually a red flag for us, or we won't take them on as an SEO customer.
So that trials works both ways?
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah, excellent. All right, great. Well, look, we're coming near the end of the show. You've given lots of value. I know at the start you said, SEO can be quite confusing for people, but I think even listening to you, you've got a lovely way of simplifying it, and also given us some really good solutions and answered some great questions. As far as the 5-part video series, like you said, I'll certainly be going off and watching that. So we'll put the links to the show notes, but it's marketingjuice.com.au /5-key, and then I'll put the rest because there's a little bit.
That's fine. I'm sure you put it. Yeah.
But I'll definitely put that in, and then also I know if people go to your website, marketingjuice.com.au, there's also that digital audit as well, which people can find out more about. And what I love about you, Nathan, is that you really want to help people that are in need of help. So I know there's a lot of agencies out there that just rush to get someone's money, and then, if they work, that's a bonus. You're really clear on making sure that through the trial and through other means that you can get value for a client before you take them on, which I think is a great attribute.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks for pointing that out.
All right, excellent. Well, look, thanks for having you on. It was fantastic. And if you love this content and you'd like to find out more, and you'd like to be supported by a great community, you can go to BuildLiveGive.com, and you can find access to both our BLG Boost community, which is our entry community, and also our mastermind, which is BLG Titans. But any parting advice from you, Nathan?
Any parting advice from us? Just narrow, so never be afraid to test, but make sure you're always focusing your budget in on what's working.
All right, that's great advice, and I really thank you for coming on the Corporate Escapees Experts podcast today.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Great. Thanks, Nathan. If you're enjoying listening to our guest stories, just letting you know we have a community for corporate escapees who are rapidly growing their dream business to find freedom. Just like you, it's called BLG Boost. You get exclusive access to a forum of like-minded peers answering your most pressing questions. You get actionable tips to solve your most common challenges. You get hundreds of trusted suppliers to save you time and money. You get member-only discounts. You get direct access to coaching by a global leader in the field, and easy to implement content solving common topics mentioned in popular threads. If you are tired of being alone and are seeking the freedom of running your own business whilst meeting your financial goals, go to buildlivegive.com/webinar. In case you missed it, the link will be in the show notes. Please check it out.
Thank you for listening to the Corporate Escapees podcast, brought to you by the team at Build, Live, Give. If you found this podcast helpful, please share it with other corporate escapees. If you would like to join a community of like-minded peers, please visit www.buildlivegive.com. Until next time, thanks for listening, and be